Hey, welcome back. We had a short break there, and I'm going to continue with the x-axis. So we're on step 3. I've got all my parts laid out. I've got the, oops, I'm trying to use my mouse on my iPad. Okay, we've got the XN motor and the XN idler, and we're about to put the bearings in. So it's very important that the bearings go in from this side and not this side. There's a rim down here, and they're not going to be able to fit. So we need to make sure those are put in from the top, like this. Okay, so that was easy. And this is the top for this piece. It looks like it was actually printed on the build plate, judging by the surface. Okay, so those are in. The first pair of bearings should be in line with the top surface on both X ends. Okay, so then there's a gap in between. So this bearing, the bearing should be flush on the end with a gap in the middle. So I need to stick a little Allen wrench in there and hook it and bring it to the end, possibly. Or maybe I'll go in from this end and push that bearing all the way down. There we go. Got that one pushed down. Okay, so that one's done. Now I needed to finish this one. There we go. So I just reached in with this Allen wrench and pushed it back out. This is the second pair of bearings should be seated on the rim. Check. And then they need to be at a 45-degree angle from each other. So they should not be in phase. Each race of bearings, or each, this is the inner balls. One needs to be at the bottom dead center, and the other one needs to be at a 45-degree angle, which it's illustrated very nicely in the instruction manual. And I've got one done correctly. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix the other one without, I think I'm going to have to push it out for the other side and reinsert it. So I just pushed it out from that side, and then I can twist it to where they're not in phase, push it back in. Okay, now I've got that one done. Good. So that was step 3. And now I need the XN idler bearing assembly. So that is over here in my printed part somewhere. That's the Z-axis. E. I'm not sure where this one ran off to. Let's see. It's in the carriage. Not there. That's all my Z-axis stuff. Power supply. I don't immediately see it because it's supposed to be printed in orange. And I'm looking. And I don't, oh, okay, I see it. It's just this at a different angle. Okay. I was worried there for a second. So I need to put a nut, a nylock in the back right here. So I'm using that same old trick, using the screw to pull the nut in place, but I'm not going to do it too much because I don't want to deform the edges of the print. I'll wait for the idler to be put in place first. Okay, so I insert the idler in, and then I line it up with the hole, and then I can put in the screw. And go ahead and tighten it up. I'm going to make sure that that nut pulls all the way in. Double check the picture so it can still freely rotate. And this is flush. Good. Okay, so I need the rest of my rods. I need the long rods for the x-axis. And 3 more linear bearings, which are over here. I'm going to take these out of the package. It's easier to just cut them open. There's 1. 2. And 3. And you insert 2 bearings on one rod and 1 bearing on the other. Those have a little oil on them, so it makes my hands greasy. And then insert the rods into the holes here. So this should be oriented like this. This one should be oriented like this. I'm worried, let's see, I want to make sure that I didn't use a screw that's too long. Let me go back and make sure I used the right one. M3 by 18. Yep, that's the right one. It just sticks out the back a little bit. Okay, that should be oriented like that. And the one with the 2 bearings, the rod with the 2 bearings goes on the top. Now that fits really nicely. It's nice and snug. And then this side fits on. I probably should have put the bottom one in first. Let me do that. There we go. Again, another great fit. Okay, this side's a little bit loose. That's good. Ensure the orientation is correct. There's a special opening at the bottom of both X ends. Check if you press the smooth rod all the way in. Oh, cool. So there are 2 little square holes on each side, and you can look, they're little witness holes, I guess you could call them, and you make sure that the rod is all the way inserted on the bottom. So it is, and I'm good to go. So step number 7, we're going to put this up here for now, and I need my X-axis stepper and my pulley. Let me go grab my motor box. There we go. And again, it's labeled right here, X-axis, which is really nice. And then it's also laser engraved, so that makes it really easy to find. I'm assuming that's laser engraved. It makes it easy to find. It's a nice touch. This is something that you're not going to get on necessarily other kits. And I'm assuming these wires are custom length wires specifically for this motor. Yeah, and it says, okay, each motor does have a custom cable length, so that's nice. Okay, we need to make sure that the flat part is up, and we need the pulley. Make sure that we leave a gap in there. So, and make sure that the flat part is facing up, and then we'll take this. And first of all, before I insert these, I always like to check. I look down the bore of the pulley, and I make sure that these are not sticking out into the bore of the pulley. That way I don't scratch the shaft of my stepper motor. So I'm going to insert this. We'll have it backwards. The teeth go on first. So I stick this on there like this, and I need a little gap in between this hub on the stepper and the edge of the pulley. It says do not tighten yet. I'm just going to barely get those snug so they don't rattle out. There we go. On step 9, we need 3 M3 by 18 screws and this. So the wire is facing the bottom. And then we place this over here. I think I'm going to find something to prop this other edge up on. Maybe like these boxes. So I'm going to prop this edge up on the boxes. Maybe just one box. That makes it easier. That way I can have a hand free to get these lined up. So once I get one put in, it'll make it a lot easier. And I don't tighten this one all the way up until I get it all 3 holes aligned. Okay, good. This is a very stout mount. It's very beefy and solid, so that's good. Yep, it says insert and tighten, so I'll go ahead and snug these dudes up. Again, not too tight. I'm just barely tightening with the short end of the wrench. No need to go He-Man on these things. Okay, step 10. I need the X carriage. So this is the print in black here. I need to orient it like this, with this side facing this way. To my right, I need 2 more zip ties. I think I'll just keep these over here with my gummy bears so I don't lose them. 2 more zip ties. And 4 square nuts. well, five square nuts, so I need all the square nuts. So the first step is to insert the square nuts into the edges here, all 5 of them. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. My fingers are really chubby. And they're all slippery from those bearings I've been messing with. Let's get the easy ones first. I'll just use a little flat head to push them in. Okay, and then I can reach down in the hole with the small wrench and kind of lever it on over. Not too forcefully, just enough to get it to line up. Well, that one went straight in. Easy. And there's one in the middle. Again, that one went in straight away. So some are easier than others. And if you have fingernails, that helps. If they start to go in sideways, like this one started to go in sideways, I'm going to have to straighten him up before I try to push him in. Okay, yeah, they go right in as long as you have them lined up properly. Oh, that one went straight in. Okay. And then insert the 2 zip ties right through here. So that's a pretty clever solution. I like that. These internal pockets for the zip ties. That's neat. Okay, so the head of the zip tie should be facing this side. Step 11. So prepare the axis. So the 2 bearings should be on top. 1 bearing should be on the bottom. You should be able to see your stepper motor should be facing up. So you lift one side and you put this underneath and then rest it down on there. And then align the bearings and tighten with zip ties. So it looks like the bearings are touching in the middle, and then there's a slight gap on the edge. So go ahead and tighten this side. This is kind of tricky to do with one hand. So it would be nice if you had a partner. It looks like the head of the zip tie terminates at the top. So once you get the first one in, it's easy from there. Okay, cool. X-axis is done. That was quick. Okay, good. I think we can go ahead and move on to the Z-axis. I'm just going to rest this guy right up here, just out of the camera view. Okay, where's my Z-axis part? So we have a bottom left and a bottom right. And let me find my Z-axis bag here. Ooh, ended up with 2 extra screws. I don't know where these go. We'll save those for later. It's not immediately obvious where they would have gone. I don't think there are any missing on there. So this one is to the bottom left and then the bottom right. Oh, this is I have the wrong, I pulled out the E-axis instead of the Z-axis. There's the E, there's spare. There it is, hiding under all of his friends. Okay. So we have another belt, and then a baggie full of socket head cap screws and just regular nuts. They're all the same size, so there's no need in sorting. So I need 6 of these guys. There's 4, 5, 6. So these circular openings must be facing outwards. Okay. So I need my frame back. The frame is going to be facing me. And they go on the bottoms right here. And these circular holes need to be facing the outside. And we're going to use our M3 by 10 screws. And so they go in this orientation. This flat part is going to be facing up. And then the 3 thread right into the frame into some pre-tapped holes. Ooh, this is tricky. I think I'm going to tilt it back a little bit just to get it started. There we go, that's a lot easier. Yeah, I can see in the instructions that the version number on these parts are A5 and I have B1, so they've been through lots of iterations. Okay, got that side done. I'll move these off to the side. These are leftovers. I always feel funny at the end when I'm putting something together. There's leftover hardware. I'm pretty sure there's spares. I did end up finding a ball end Allen wrench. It sure does make things a lot easier. I never torque with the ball end, but it's nice to get things started. It's speedy. Okay, I've got both of those put in. Now I need to place the Z screw covers, which are these little guys. They were 3D printed. Okay, cool. So I need both Z axes. I think it actually is axis. I looked it up. It's spelled A-X-E-S, like the axe. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it is the correct spelling. The plural form of axis. Note that each Z-axis motor has a different cable length. The shorter one must be on the left side. So the left side, as you're facing the front of the printer, the shorter one's on the left. I'm assuming that the control box will be on the left. And then the longer one will be on the right. So remove these, they call them trapezoid nuts. This is a trapezoidal thread form on these threaded rods. So we'll remove these, put them over to the side, and then we need to put the Z screw covers on. And they just slide down the threaded rod. Oh, they screw over, okay. They've actually got some little tabs in there. And I think you can just rotate the stepper. You guys can't see that at all, can you? You can just rotate the stepper like this and push down on the cover and just thread it straight on. That's a lot easier than trying to spin the cover by hand all the way down. And it says they should be screwed fully onto the motor but not too tight. The motor must be able to spin freely. So they're just a cover, not something that's structural. So again, I'll do the same thing with this guy. I'm just twisting the threaded rod by hand with one hand and pushing down the cover with the other. And we go down just like that. And then now we need 8 more M3 by 10 screws. Oh, they're actually labeled. This is really cool. So they're labeled Z-axis left and Z-axis right. So we know the left one is the one closer to the control box. And it has the shorter cable. Okay, and now it's time to put these on. I'm assuming you just slip the whole frame. I'll just lift this up, thread it through the big hole, just like that. I'll do the same thing on this side. Easy peasy. Make sure the frame's not resting on the wires. Okay. Now I'm free and clear. There we go. It was the bracket was resting on the stepper. And then I put those in. Okay, so 4 screws attach the steppers to the brackets. So you just lift the stepper into place with one hand, and with the other hand you secure the stepper in place. Let me turn this sideways so you guys can see what I'm doing. Very gracefully, mind you. And I'll do this side. And the wires, looks like they just go right up underneath the frame. Possibly. I'm going to have to double check that. Let me check before I put them into place. Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures really close, and they don't go out the front or the right or the left. So I'm assuming they go out the back. But I don't have any visual evidence here. So I'm just going to go with that assumption. There is a little slot there, so we'll go with that. And if you're watching, I don't have the chat open. I'm using OBS, and I've had issues with echo, so I do not have the chat open right now. So forgive me, I can't see if you're asking me any questions. I might try to open it up on the iPad, but I don't know how much good that will do. I can't really multitask on the iPad that well. Okay. Now I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees and work on this side. I'm not very good at doing this left-handed, so I'm just going to reach around the side and do it. Thank goodness for ball end wrenches. This would have been really tough without a ball end. Okay, I'm just going to give each of them a nice quarter turn. Make sure they're snug. Okay, step 4 done. Now we need to put the trapezoidal motor nuts on the x-axis. Okay. So we need the trapezoidal nuts, which are these guys. And I'll move this up out of the way. Maybe rotate it. Make sure all my wires are free and clear. And then I'll grab my x-axis back in the front. Okay. And then I need 2 M3x10 nuts. M3x10 screws, and then two nuts per. So a total of 4. Okay, got it. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. So these guys, I don't know if you guys can see this, they go in that little corner right there. And one goes here, one goes in that corner on both sides. So I'm going to attempt to put them in. I'll do the inside first. Ooh, this would be really nice if I had a pair of tweezers. Okay, those go in fairly easily. I wonder if I can do it with the needle nose. Oh yeah, that works good. The needle nose pliers work well for that. The inside, so you can put the needle nose pliers. They're just thin enough to where you can hold the nut like that, and then you can just stick it right in the slot and let go. And hold your finger underneath it so they don't fall. They just pop right into place. But whenever you lift it, they're all going to fall out, so you got to keep it wherever you're at. Okay, so then you put the trapezoid nuts into the slots and secure them with two screws. So since these nuts are just kind of barely in there, I'm not going to hold it up to the camera, but I will show you when I'm done. I want to get everything kind of in place before I start moving it around. Okay, I got it. So these trapezoid nuts, sorry I was quiet there for a second, I was concentrating. The trapezoid nuts go in the bottom like that, you put in the 2 screws, and then these nuts right here. There's one on the inside as well. It's kind of hard to see. You can see in that back corner. It's down in there. You just kind of have to fiddle with it until you get it. And so that's where those go. And it says go ahead and tighten them down. So I'm just going to give them a nice quarter turn, make sure they're snug until I feel resistance. And, well, I usually tighten until I feel resistance, and then I give a nice quarter turn. Okay. So that's done on both sides. Now I get to assemble the x-axis. Cool. So carefully slide the x-axis onto the trapezoid screws. The stepper should be on the same side as the logo. Okay, so they're just kind of sitting on there right now. Make sure the top smooth rod from the x-axis and the lower edge of the frame are parallel. Okay, so naturally it's going to want to sit, it's going to incline towards the back, so because the weight of this motor is rotating it. So you want to try to level it out and make sure that this surface is parallel with this surface, and then get them kind of seated on there. And then you want to twist both rods. The rods are right here. You want to twist both rods in the same direction, which if you're looking from the top, it is counterclockwise, and that's going to thread the x-axis onto the threaded rods. If you feel resistance, it's okay to stop. You can get kind of both sides threaded on, and then you can use the top of the frame as a guide and get them both lined up, and then try to turn them equally. And it's possible to get one side quite a bit further down than the other, but if you see it happening, just adjust. Whoa, I think I broke something. Oops. That's no good. I broke off one of the tabs on the carriage. I'm not sure what I did. I was just holding the, I think I squished it out in the wrong position. Okay, so that's print number 1. I've got to print a new X carriage. I think it'll be okay for now, hopefully. I'm not even sure where it came from. Maybe it's the back side. Okay, well, I'll continue with this. We can replace that later. Okay. So now I've got these kind of like maybe only an inch, threaded on about an inch. And it says that I can go ahead and insert the last 2 rods, and they go through the bearings. And then there's a little hole down at the bottom. And it just seats right in there. And you can kind of twist it to get it to seat. Okay. Good. Check. Now placing the Z-axis top parts. So we need these 2 guys right here, and for the last remaining M3 by 10 screws. So these line up at the top, just like this. and the threaded rod goes in this hole, and then the smooth rod goes in the other one. They've got two counterbore holes, so I'm going to get one started and then put the other in. But first I'm going to leave the screw in there, and I'm going to get the smooth rod placed in, and then I'll start trying to thread this in. This is nice and aligned, and I'll just kind of snug it down a little bit, and then I'll get the other one put in, and it's nice. They've done some thinking on this one. They left you room right in between the threaded rod, or they placed the screw right in between the threaded rod and the smooth rod. Good. So that fit just right. And I'll get this other one put on. It's snapped into place. But don't use too much force. And if these screws don't go in right away, if you don't film threading in, don't force them, because you can strip or cross thread the frame. This one, the other one, the one in the middle, is tricky to get it in there. But I'm just using the long ball end wrench. It's working well. Okay, good. I got the axis stops put in. Check. Good. So now I have to assemble the belt. So insert the G2 belt over that, so I need to turn the whole thing around. So when you pick this up, make sure you don't pick it up by the threaded rods, pick it up by the frame. Ooh, now it's got some heft to it. It's not as light as it was when it started out here. Okay. I'm trying to find where that piece broke off. I really don't even see it. Huh. Oh, I see it. Okay. It's in the back there. Just a tiny little piece. I guess it was, I guess the bearing was in the way, and when I pushed on it, it just snapped it right off. Okay, it looks like I need to lower this down a little bit more so I can get access to it. Okay, and then the teeth are face down like this, and they go around the back here. You want to make a little P shape, like this, and there's a little loop back there, and you mesh the teeth together on the belt, and so they're kind of mated together, and they fit through a little opening. But every time I push on it, it pivots around the top bearing, so this is kind of tricky. Okay, I got it. Then you pull it tight. So press it all the way in. It says use a screwdriver. I'm just using my fingernails. That seems to be sufficient. So it says there should be no belt hanging out at the edge of the carriage. So I have a little bit left over. I need to take that and move it because I'm sure it's going to hit the edge of the frame if I leave it. Okay, I've got it now. Got it pushed in. There's no belt on the edge of the carriage. And so now I need to loop it teeth first around the pulley. So down and around. Just feed it through. It should come out the other side. And then you go around the other side and feed it back through. Well, this bottom part's curling up on me. I'm going to bend it so it's more straight. There we go. So I've got that fed all the way through. And then continue through the guide. So that's what I snapped off. I snapped off a bit of the belt guide. But that's okay, because I've got the left side. And then it says to go around the pulley the same way we did with this side. So it goes all the way through. Around the pulley, so you pull out the slack, make sure the belt is inside the belt guide on the carriage. It wraps around the front of the pulley. It goes back through. Okay. So now it says, before you continue, please release these two screws. So the ones on the corners right here. So you have to release those, and the stepper is going to pivot. So you release the top corner and the bottom corner, and you leave this one intact. Well, I guess it needs to be loosened a little bit so it can pivot. And the whole thing is going to pivot towards the center of the frame. Like that. And so that's how we're going to be able to tension this up. Get the proper tension on this whole thing. So if you hold the carriage, then you can create some tension. So rotate the x-axis motor downward like we just did. And then loop the belt around the screw in the back. And so you make a little loop like this, and then you try to hold the front of the carriage with one hand and just keep slacking up until you can get that little lasso you made to loop around the back of the carriage. So I've got mine. Good. And that's probably why they tell you to not leave any slack over here, because there's not much belt left. You need everything you can get. Okay, done. So it's all pressed in. Check. So now I need to rotate this until this is taut. So when it vibrates, use the right hand to rotate it to its original position. Use a finger and push it down. There should be some resistance, but not too much. So it should vibrate kind of like a guitar string. So when it's done, So if you can't rotate the motor back, you need to relieve some tension from the belt by undoing your lasso and giving more slack. So when it's done, rotate the motor back and tighten the screws. So I'm going to give that a shot. I think I may be a little bit too tight. Yeah, I think I'm way too tight. So I need to undo my lasso. Okay, you just kind of wiggle it out here. I'm going to move it back a few teeth. Like that. So I've got another little lasso made. I'm going to put it around there. Okay, that's a lot better. Doesn't take much. Just a few teeth make all the difference. And now I'm threading it in there. Nice and easy. And just tighten until you feel resistance, and then just a quarter turn. That's all you need. Okay, so now we need to align the X-axis belt. So that's why we left that pulley loose. So rotate it to where you got a nice head-on view, and then look down the X carriage and rotate it back and forth, and everything should be nice and aligned. So I followed the directions, and mine is nice and aligned. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a snug it up. And I like to always tighten the one on the flat first, the flat part of the motor shaft, and then I rotate it to the one that's 90 degrees across, and then it's on the smooth curved part of the shaft, and then I finish tightening that up, and I give it a nice little torque. Make sure not to strip these screws out because they're very difficult to remove if you strip them out. Okay. Everything's functioning correctly. Now I'll test the axis. So I'm going to grab a hold of the motor, the shaft on the stepper motor, and I'm going to pull on the carriage slightly, and it's not slipping over the belt, so everything is properly tensioned. You can also tell if you pluck the belt, it should vibrate a little bit. So the Z-axis is finished. Awesome, that was easy. So now we need to go on to the extruder. I think this one's going to take more time. So I think we'll stop here. I'll stop the stream, and then I may come back later. It's 8 p.m. here. I may come back in about 30 minutes and start the extruder. So thanks for watching. Feel free to comment, ask any questions. If you have any requests for me to do something on the stream, let me know. Thank you.